Hello and welcome to Homescreen. I'm Joe Colchester, Product Manager here at 11FS Pulse. In today's episode, we are joined by James Gibson, Head of Product at Revolut Business. How are you doing today, James?
I am very well, thank you very much.
Great. So just to kick us off, do you think you could explain a little bit about how Revolut has evolved over time and also where the business banking section of that fits into it all?
Revolut itself was launched in 2015 and it was kind of launched by Nick Soronsky and Vlad Yatsenko. It's a way to be able to manage your money, and particularly when you travel, so you don't get hit by insane FX fees. There was a huge, it kind of took off really quite quickly. And one of the things that the guys noticed was that there was huge demand from businesses for an equivalent service. So it wasn't just kind of retail customers who were suffering from this, but also businesses. So in 2017, Revolut Business was launched as a kind of an equivalent, but just designed for businesses. So some small important tweaks, which I'm sure we'll come on to. And since then, in the past kind of 3.5 years, we've grown rapidly, and we now have over 500,000 businesses signed up across Europe using our platform.
How does that compare to the retail market then, in terms of your user base, business versus personal accounts?
So clearly, the sort of personal product is, there are a lot more customers in general. We're significantly smaller. About 50% of our businesses come from our personal product. So that's where they hear about the business account and they think, oh, sounds great. I've really enjoyed using a personal account. Now I should use the business one. And a significant proportion of those, again, over 50% of our total, over 50% actually use us as their primary business account.
Is that upselling or cross-selling done within the app itself, or do they just hear about it elsewhere?
Yeah, we've never really pushed it. If you go into the personal app, you won't see business at left, right, and center. So we've deliberately never tried to do it, given not that many people have a business on the side. So there's no point pushing it to most people. But we have done bits over the years where we've tried to kind of do a bit of cross-selling. So no, it's mainly people just thinking, oh, this is a great product. I wonder if there's a business equivalent, and then finding out about the business equivalent.
Yeah. And how does the product team work there? Are you split into different? Do you work with the other like kind of current account service, the normal account service, or are you very separated? We
are separate, and I know this actually is kind of different to how some of our competitors are structured. So from the outset, Revolut Business was designed kind of with businesses in mind. It wasn't just taking a personal product and just a twist. It was like really kind of thinking what businesses need. And as a result, we have completely separate teams focusing on it. We have a separate department, business department, is focusing on the business account. So that's high level how we're structured. And then within that, we have kind of autonomous product-centered, product-led teams who focus on one aspect of our offering. So maybe our cards, business cards product, where we issue debit cards, or perhaps our how we do, say, our expenses product. And each of these teams, cross-functional, kind of autonomous, has a KPI which relates to that area.
And in terms of the target audience or the target businesses, can you tell us a little bit about that?
That we don't try to limit ourselves too much. So we don't say we're only for sole traders or we're only for single person limited companies in the UK or whatever. We're firstly available throughout the whole of Europe. And secondly, we're available for sole traders through to kind of listed companies. We have listed companies who use our product. So within that, we do have personas that we try to build for and understand our customer segments within that. But we're trying not to limit ourselves too much to any one particular kind of customer type. So yeah, we really do have a range of customers who use us and use us in very different ways as well.
For sure. Can you tell us a bit about your US expansion starting in 2020?
that's kind of big strategic objective for us, is to break into the US. So on the personal side, we're already live there, have been for a while. And there's quite a lot planned for this year for that. I can't go into too much detail. And then on the business side, again, we're in a kind of beta there at the moment. Customers can onboard to us there. We have a waiting list in place for some customers, and we're planning to kind of fully launch in the next couple of months. So,
and in terms of the pandemic, how has that affected the way that you operate and the product itself?
It's been really interesting because for our customers, so it's had interesting effects on our customers. So it kind of slowed or reduced overall spending initially and overall activity, particularly in April last year. There was quite a big drop off. We've seen much less of a drop off in the subsequent lockdowns. But it also, we saw a huge surge in new applications. So quite a lot of the high street banks stopped accepting any business applications. And at the same time, there was a lot of new people, or people with a bit more time on their hands, who were thinking about new businesses. And one of the first things you need is a business account. So we saw a lot of new customers coming. And then we saw quite a big how the spending shifts in spending patterns, so shifts to online spending. We didn't really see a dip in advertising spending, interestingly. So that was on the customer side. And then in terms of us, it didn't really impact how we operate as a team. So we've always been remote in the sense that we have teams and people based in Berlin, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Krakow. I have engineers who I work with who are based in France, who I haven't met in person in 3 years of working together.
Yeah.
So but it's worked well for us for the last 3 years, and it set us up kind of well to keep going. So we've actually grown our team during the pandemic and still managed to launch quite a lot of features. And I really don't think it's disrupted everything too much.
And in terms of the business account itself, we're obviously going to dive into it in a second, but could you just outline kind of a couple of the key features? Yeah,
sure. So we are known on the business side as well as on the personal side as being great for kind of international use. Absolutely. So FX, being able to make easy payments, both domestic and international, hold money in lots of different currencies. So we offer that, and we'll see some of that, I think, in a second. We offer a kind of corporate card solution, like business debit cards, so you can issue them to your whole team. You can control spending. Again, I think we'll see that in a second. We have an acquiring product, which basically means card acceptance, and we've just launched that in the last kind of 6 months, and it's really ramping up now. And that's basically, as a business, I want to be able to accept card payments. We now offer a solution for that. And we have a bunch of other kind of value adding products that sit on top of basic banking products. So expense management, invoice management. We are gearing up to launch payroll products soon. So they're kind of value adding products that sit on top. So that's what we offer.
Just to jump back to the FX one, which Revolut is really praised for. How do you achieve such low rates, such cheap rates? Because there's only a couple of products that can do it, and it might be quite a complex thing to outline. But if you can,
and secret source of Revolut. But so I won't go into too much detail. But all I say is we don't really make much money off it. I mean, historically this was a real cash cow for big banks, and the secret is really just don't make money off it. And
so in a way it's kind of not a loss leader, but it brings in the customers and then from there you can kind of cultivate them. Okay, great. So I think we should go into this first journey. So we're through to the Revolut Business Account. We've got our usual functionalities there at the top, send, exchange, add, and then we can switch through the different accounts, seeing all the related flags, and also a to-do list, which is quite unusual, but I can see how that can drive engagement, and the different integrations there on the left, as well as the payments navigation. So you showed us the desktop journey there. Have you found that it's been particularly popular amongst the business users, the desktop version?
Well, so when we first launched, we actually only launched web. So that was 3.5 years ago, on the basis that businesses mainly operate from web, and that was true largely then. And over the last 4 years, it's been described quite rapid shift towards mobile. Well, which already existed, but I think it's accelerated and includes businesses as well. So we launched a mobile app about 2 years ago, and now it's about a 50-50 split of our web and mobile usage.
Wow. So were you quite surprised about the subsequent popularity of mobile, given the kind of earlier trend of?
Yeah, we had quite a lot of debates about it early on. So does a business really need mobile? And it turns out the answer is definitely yes. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, that to-do list also, as we saw, features quite heavily. Is there any reason why you made that a central part of the homepage there? Has that helped drive engagement?
Yes, so we have two kind of features that you saw there. One was called To Do. So these are kind of your jobs to be done as an admin. So when you log in, we just want to tell you straight away what you need to do and where you need to take action. And particularly as our product becomes more complex with new kind of mini apps and features, we needed something which allowed us to be able to explain to our customers what they kind of need to take action on. And so yeah. And then the second item I think you saw was something called Suggested for You, which is more like a recommendation engine. So yeah, but between them, the idea is to make it to surface what's relevant for a customer and make their life easier.
Yeah. And did you take any inspiration from other either business banking products or just products that you'd seen out there?
So I don't think there are many or any other kind of really good business banking products out there to take a lot of inspiration from. And in general, when we think about how we should build products, we much more frequently look at how successful software companies do it rather than looking at anyone within finance. So good examples are, say, Spotify or Google or Apple. You'll actually notice if you look at our products and how we structure things, quite a lot of similarities with how companies like Apple do it, and that's because we deliberately try and take inspiration from companies like that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So now we're just going to take a look at the rest of that journey. So we're through to the card section now. We can see we can add a new card, and we can also see the different virtual cards, and our employees are also listed there. So we can get a new debit card or a virtual debit card. Very, very quick there. We didn't even let the loading animation go. So we're back through to the kind of profile section for the card. We can set a limit of anything we want there. Change the card name as well. And we saw that card name was automatically attributed to the kind of card owner at that point. And we can now see the linked accounts, so the numerous different countries. And we can also switch off countries where they operate. Just one card holder there for the moment, and an image can also be added. Heaps of cards on offer, so there is a search functionality available, which dynamically delivers them. So we saw a lot of countries being switched on and off there. Has that been what's the core purpose behind that? Because I can see why you'd want to link different accounts to it, but is it a common case where people are switching off various countries?
Not really, to be honest. Okay. It's so the direction we're going in with this is giving more and more control to admins, so they can define rule sets for cards, and we see a huge demand for that. Yeah, and people shifting their entire spending into a platform like ours, so they can manage it easily. One of the use cases are I want to limit expenditure to the UK, so I don't want this X person going and spending anywhere else. So it's just another way of putting a limit on. It's not the most frequent use case. It was something we did quickly to kind of test something. Going forward, we're looking a lot more at, say, per DM or per day limits, per week limits, single transaction limits, that kind of thing.
Sure. So we saw quite a few. I mean, we saw Visa and Mastercard there. What's the reason why we're seeing both there, and how's it been working with both of them as partners?
We just have deals with both of them. So yeah, and we issue both for various reasons. Partly in some countries, one is sort of preferred to the other. Again, for various reasons. So that's it. But yeah, we just issue both with both on debit.
Okay, great. And finally, are there kind of any helpful tax tools that we might not have seen there that are also in the business banking proposition?
Yeah, so one of the things you saw was the ability to turn on expense tracking. So what we allow our customers to do is to, after every transaction, to be able to take a picture of the receipt using the mobile app, upload it, and fill in some basic information about the transaction. And that can then be reviewed by a third party, so your accountant or your finance function, and it can then be synced with your accounting software.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We're just launching at the moment, actually, the ability to we read the receipt. So we do the matching for you, and you can forward the receipt via email to us. So you know, if you get your Uber receipt into your email, you don't have to then take a picture of it, upload it. You just forward it onto our email address, and we'll do everything else for you.
Amazing. And this might be quite a tricky question, but how is Revolut looking to change the business banking landscape?
Well, I think there's quite a lot to change. I mean, if you ask anyone who's opened a business in the last 5-10 years how difficult it is to get set up with the basic services you need, both in terms of banking, but then everything else you need to run a business. So like how you run your first payroll, how you manage your start to do your taxes, how you issue invoices, and all this currently, everyone's starting to make inroads into it, and there are services out there now which are starting to improve, but there's no kind of wholesale change in the industry yet. And what our product's doing at the moment is bringing all of these services together onto one platform, and allowing you to kind of set up your business in 15-30 minutes with one product, rather than having to go around 10 products 2 weeks later and a lot of hours lost. So yeah.
I don't think anyone will blame Revolut for or could accuse them of not kind of expanding their product line. It's really impressive. So in terms of the business banking, or rather the banking license application that's going through now, does that fit into the business banking plans at all?
Yeah, so it's a general banking license application for both for us as a whole. So yeah, but it short term for the kind of things that we're releasing at the moment, like invoice product, payroll product, expenses, improving our core offering, it doesn't have any kind of immediate impact on that.
Okay, so potentially a longer term thing of there could be some lending going on and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Again, this might be a bit of a tricky one, but if you do get a banking license, will it have any effect on the cheap international transfers that you currently kind of lead the way on?
I see no reason why it should. I am not an expert in this field, but I see no reason why it should.
Okay, great. So if you could go back and change one thing about the way that Revolut Business went, either in a kind of operational way, or it could be either the way that you went about doing it, or kind of features themselves, or just learning experiences, what would you say?
It's a good question. It's a question I often ask in interviews as well. There's a couple of things in hindsight that I might do a bit differently if we go back a year or so, 2 years ago. So firstly, we're in the process of launching a new design system, which is unified across the entire of Revolut, which has been driven by the fact that we now have so many products, which are all making amazing progress, but we're all slightly diverging in different ways. They're starting to look and feel a bit different, and that includes business. And so something we're doing now is investing time to kind of bring a standardization in terms of design across all of our products. And I think it's looking, it's not in what we just looked at. It's coming in the next month or two, and it's going to look really, really nice. But I wish we'd done that sooner, because it would have saved us a lot of time debating about little things of how we do something, when we just have basically a rule set that we can apply in those circumstances. It certainly would help with kind of design work. So that's one. I think most people, when I don't know, but at least when I reflect on projects, I often wish I'd invested a bit more time at the beginning to understand the problem further, because you almost always find that if you really understand the problem, you get to a much better solution ultimately. And it's when you try and rush to the solution that you don't actually solve the problem. And with that in mind, I think spending even more time than we did early on data, and really understanding where problems were, where stuff wasn't working as we wanted it to, and building a system to understand that, I think would pay, well, it always just pays dividends. And so I think we could have done even more than that. We do it a lot. I mean, we're pretty data driven, but I think we could go a lot further.
For sure. And the benefits of doing that early on always pay off. Well, it's been really great chatting, James. Is there any way like people can find you on Twitter or LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn, so they can find me, James Gibson, on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming, James. It was great to chat. And thanks for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, go to 11FS YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of Homescreen. Also, if you want to see more journeys like this and thousands more, head over to pulse.11fs.com to find out more. Thanks so much, guys.